We'll be talking about World Blood Donors Day. Now, the World Blood Donors Day was started about 21 years ago on 14 June 2004, and it's actually named, the date was picked because of Karl Landsteiner, who got a Nobel Prize for the discovery of the ABO blood group system. And joining me to have the conversation is a good friend and a return visitor, Ayobami Bakare, Program Manager of Hema Health Initiative. Welcome back to the Weekend Show.
Yeah, hi, good morning.
You know, we've been doing this conversation for about the last 6, 7 years now.
Yeah, like I was just saying, like, as in our yearly ritual.
Yes, and I'm glad we can do this because talking about Blood Donors Day, I know how many times I've gotten calls from Hema Health, from other organizations about blood donation. My brother Eddie as well, every 6 months he's going to donate blood, and that's something he does with joy. But I remember a relative calling me 2 weeks ago saying, oh, he needs a blood transfusion. And I was like, oh, which hospital? What's your blood group? And he was like, no, he's paid for it already, that he's good. And it just made me think about the fact that you guys were coming on the show to talk about this and how many times people are in the hospitals and they can't pay for blood. They can't, and sometimes they can pay for it, but they don't have it. I remember a friend's sister who needed some blood because she has sickle cell, and they had called me, I was out of town, and the next day, the sister had passed on. And I felt a level of guilt for something I couldn't even control. And so this is a conversation which is quite close and dear to my heart. But why are we here today?
As you've said it all, today is World Blood Donors Day, and I think it's one of the days where we have to remind people all over the world that blood can't be manufactured, you just have to donate. And Nigeria sits on a precarious situation, you know, like it's a more of a double jeopardy, the state of the health system. And so this is the one aspect of the health system where people can help, and that is why everybody needs to come out. Like you need to donate your blood at this point. So currently, we need about 2.2 million units of blood at any point. But we've not been able to hit the mark. I think the highest we've gotten to has been 700,000 in a year. So there's a shortfall of over, I think, another 1.7 million. So this blood needs to come from somewhere. And we've gotten to the point where now, so a lot of Nigeria, from that 700,000, around 40 or 50% is still from family donations. So where like, oh, the way you said your relative called you. So like, oh, I'm sick. Like I take everybody in my house, like, okay, come donate blood. They find the person who matches the best, they donate and they go home. But we're trying to move from that where like voluntary donations, people can walk into a donation center and just go to donate. You have your donor card. You know when next you're supposed to donate. Like for every adult male, that is once in 3 months. Every adult female, elderly female, that is once in 4 months. So you walk into a donation center and you go donate. Sometimes you don't even know this blood you're donating might be used in saving your own life because nobody knows who uses the blood. Like, so we need blood to be available at the banks, blood and blood component to be available at the banks. And it's gotten to the point where we can say, oh, this is what the government is doing. But at the end of the day, like this blood you've been given freely, I think it is humane and ideal for you to donate. And this is not to sing your praise. I know I had your number on a retainer for O positive donors.
Yes.
And so every time, like sometimes I feel bad, like why am I always calling Andy when he's about to donate blood? But like this is the situation we have. We have a small pool of donors, especially okay, for the city, I know Abuja, we have a very small pool of donors. So every time I organize a blood drive, I can tell you,
You already know the people are
who
coming.
the people that are coming. So we need to expand that blood donor unit. Like we need to have more people coming to donate. And everybody likes to give you an excuse about why they can't donate blood until they or someone they know needs blood. Then it's, oh, how can we get this blood and everything? And I'm like, blood can't be bought. I can't give you what it is not available.
Yeah.
So people like you and I have to donate. So when it is available in the blood bank, you get it. And because of lack of donor awareness, it has propped up a blood black market.
Oh, no.
So on an average, a unit of blood in the National Blood Service Agency, Lagos State Blood, is between maybe 7 to 10K, whether positive or negative. But because these bloods are not available in the market, people have to rely on paid donors, and they come in for as high as 45,000, even 70,
no.
depending on the unit you're looking for, where you're asking for it. So now we need to find a way of, the black market might be serving a purpose, but in the long run, it is bad. Because people that don't have money cannot afford blood, and blood shouldn't be dependent on money.
I remember during the COVID-19 pandemic where a woman in Kaduna died because she couldn't afford 5,000 naira at some point to buy blood, and that was a problem. We also saw recently about some man who lost his wife, and hearing about this black market is quite sad. But before we even go into more of that, you mentioned blood and blood components. What do you mean by blood component?
Okay, so I should, blood is in two parts. So I'm going to start with, there's O blood.
Yeah.
O blood is where you have your red blood cell, white blood cell, plasma, all in one bag. It has not been separated. Yeah. So when you get to component separation, and that's where you have your fresh frozen plasma, you have your red cells. So those, you can separate blood into like 3 or 4 different components. So sometimes, in different medical instances, people need different type of. So for accident and emergency, most times they use whole blood, but sometimes for cancer patients, all they just need is plasma. So, like, we are trying to push. So I think in the modern world, only Nigeria still transfuses whole blood for everybody. So we're trying to get, like, if this person doesn't need red blood cells, why are they getting red blood cells? Can we separate this into component, as a blood component? But it is a bit pricey, and so it is not where everybody's looking, because not everybody can afford it. Like, they are in a couple of, not a couple of thousands, like fresh frozen plasma should be between 200 to 400,000. Okay. So, and it is not readily available also. So we are trying to get, let the government invest more in this separating machines so that people can get components, so that this blood don't go to waste. So someone that doesn't red blood cell and you're giving them red blood cell, like, at the end of the day, is deemed waste. Yeah. But if we can separate this blood into components, you need fresh frozen plasma, it is available, you get it. You need red cells, it's available, you get it.
Is there a timeline for how long blood can be kept in the blood bank when people donate?
For Nigeria presently, the blood bag we use lasts for 30 days. So, but other parts of the world you have like for like 60 days, 60 days or so. But for Nigeria, the major blood bag we use.
Let's talk about demystifying blood donation. What are some myths around it that you've encountered which make people put up a resistance?
So, coming from our society, a lot of our thoughts and beliefs are
ritual
are steeped in traditional and religious beliefs and everything. So, people tell you, I feel like almost every culture in Nigeria has some kind of it's not aversion to blood, but blood is not something you touch with. Blood is supposed to be sacred. So people still have that, like, oh, why am I giving out? Blood is supposed to be sacred. I'm not supposed to give out. And I'm like, the only thing you are giving out is like 90% of water. So please, can you give out? You are not giving out anything but your blood. Nobody's going to take your destiny by collecting your blood. Nothing. As once the blood leaves your body, it is just blood. It's not taking anything away from you.
Tell me, we've heard some people say if you have tattoos, you can't donate blood. Is that true?
No, not completely. So for Nigeria, from your last tattoo to your next donation should be between 6 months and a year. Okay. So just to avoid issues, or some people might react to the ink, and sometimes this ink finds a way of getting themselves into the bloodstream. So like it gives that 6 year to 1 year gap gives you a bit of time, like, okay, you can donate after 6.
Secondly, people who smoke, can they donate blood?
Yes, they can. people
who drink, can they donate blood? And how many days after drinking?
No, just in a matter of hours.
Oh.
So for people that drinks, I think give or take 4, just till you are sober.
Yeah.
Once you're sober, I think you're free. But you can't donate blood maybe while drinking or you've just finished drinking.
I've learned a lot because some of us, we just walk in, do our bits, and walk out of there.
Yeah. So one other important thing I feel like we need to talk about, like the questions we get is, there is blood and there is safe blood. So blood is what you donate. Safe blood is what is administered.
Okay, so it still goes through a process.
It still goes through a process. So, like people like, oh, one of the questions I get is every year is that, oh, why people donate freely? Why are they paying for blood? You are not paying for blood. You can pay for blood. But there are lots of processes that come with storage, screening. Like we are in present day Abuja, you need 24 hours power supply to keep the blood safe. So this blood has to be kept at optimal temperatures. There are special equipment required for this. So that is why you pay an access fee for blood. You are not buying blood. I just would like to correct that impression. Because like, oh, I donated my blood for that.
Why do I have to pay?
Why are they asking me for money? So these are a lot of processes. Hopefully someday we hope the blood system is only subsidized, or maybe more insurance company take up transfusion and everything, and maybe people will not have to pay to access blood.
So, before I let you go, tell me, how can we, because I'm now part of the family, well, I've always been, but how can we expand the donor list? What can we all do to make people, to increase that your database where you can just call people or where people can willingly go register? Yeah.
So I think the burden is on all of us, like tell a friend, tell your sister, tell every adult, male or female, that can donate blood. And people like, oh, I don't have enough blood. You don't know whether you have enough blood or not
until you go.
Until you go. And the good thing about it is nobody will bleed you when you don't have enough blood, no matter the emergency, no matter the situation. Like there are guidelines concerning blood donation. So once you have an adequate amount of blood, then you are able to donate.
Okay, so I know Hema Health is constantly doing blood donation runs, and so please check them out on all social media platforms. Hema Health Initiative. I will encourage all of you to just do it, even if it's not needed, even if you don't know. But sometimes it even helps you when you go for this, because you know if your blood can be donated, if you've got the right blood count and like that. So it just helps you check yourself. And I've also seen at some of those the blood tests, there are also like BP checks, other tests which people can do for free.
Yeah, like there's a lot of positive to blood donation. You get medical screening, obviously, and it helps in your blood circulatory system. It helps your heart also.
Thank you so much. Is there anything else you would want to let our audience know? Do you have a blood drive coming up soon?
Yeah, so I think they can just check out us on Instagram. We have like an events list for what blood donors, so I don't take much of your time. Thank you very much.
Ayobami Bakare, always a pleasure having you here, and we're always here for you and the team.
Yeah, thank you very much.
We'll take a quick break. When we return, more on The Weekend Show.